My special guest today is Tara Falcone. Tara Falcone is a CFA, a CPA, and she is a Main Street born and Wall Street bred finance expert with that certified financial planning background. And she is the founder and CEO of Reason. Thanks for being on the show today, Tara.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about what we're building with Reason.
Can you start off, just tell the audience a little bit about your background and why you founded Reason?
Yeah, so I have an interesting founder story, I think, and hope it makes a lot of sense as to why I'm building what I'm building. So this like Main Street born aspect. I grew up in a very small town in rural Michigan. My dad was the breadwinner growing up. He unfortunately passed away when I was 13, and it kind of left me in a position to have to pick up the financial pieces with my stepmom. Forced me to become financially independent at a very young age. Was working full time all through high school while also trying to get good grades and getting to a good college. And I ended up getting a full need-based financial aid scholarship to Yale, which is the best gift I think I'll ever be given in my life. And while I was there, I was a pre-med Spanish major. I was like trying to, avenge my dad's death by being a better doctor or becoming a better doctor than he had, so the other daughters didn't have to go through what I went through. But I got to the end of my senior year and realized I couldn't afford to apply to medical school. So it was like I'd been given this amazing gift to like take all of these classes and make those next big steps and, progressing in my career. And then there was this massive barrier that I felt I couldn't really do anything about. I was also really sick of being broke. I had maybe $600 to my name, I think, as a senior about to graduate from college. And I was sick of being intimidated by money. And I knew that, I was the only person in my family with this upward social opportunity to learn how money works, to, how to put your money to work instead of trading your time for dollars. And I, 3 months before graduation, applied to any and all finance jobs left on the job board. As a pre-med Spanish major, I had no idea that there was a difference between a fixed income firm and a private equity firm and an asset manager and a hedge fund and all this stuff. But I was just hoping somebody saw something in me, that would give me an opportunity. And gratefully, there was a small hedge fund in New York City that was like, this girl is very hungry. She's going to outwork anybody who has like an economics degree. She'll figure it out, right? I think they said like if you can get an A- in organic chemistry, you can figure out how to invest invest in the market. And so it turns out they were right. And I loved the work. Like I was a long short equity analyst at this boutique fund in New York City and felt like I was on a treasure hunt every day, hunting for value and event-driven opportunities. And it was so fascinating. But over time, because of my background, I felt really disconnected from the clientele that we were serving. And coincided, my husband left Wall Street to join the Navy. We were getting restationed to Japan. And basically I was like, all right, I'm going to take this knowledge and skill set that I've acquired and figure out a way to apply it to people like my friends and family. This was in 2015, retail investing. Robinhood hadn't really taken off in the way that it has recently. So I was like, all right, maybe now is not the time to do this. I'm going to focus on something else in the meantime while I wait for the market to catch up. And in 2020, it did. So in 2020, everybody was diving into retail investing. As a certified financial planner, I'm very basically obsessed with what motivates people with money, what they're trying to achieve, and how we can create strategies to do that. So I started asking, infiltrating Facebook groups, and I was like, what is it that is motivating you to put your money at risk now that has not, motivated you before? And a lot of people, especially women, were like, well, I have these goals that are shorter term than retirement. Like retirement's on lock. That's boring. It takes a long time. But I want to buy a house in 3 to 5 years. I want to, pay off my car loan. I want to pay off my student loans faster. I want to feel less guilty about certain purchases that I make, like coffee at Starbucks or a Peloton or, this subscription or membership that I have. Like, I want to feel like I've earned that some way. And I'm hoping to do that by generating gains in the market. And I was like, that is fascinating because that is very contrary to what personal finance, gurus have told the rest of the population for the last few decades. So then I was like, all right, how are, those goals dictating what investments you're buying? And most people are like, I have no idea, right? I follow this person on Twitter. I'm on this Reddit subthread. Like, I'm just investing in fractional shares in like 50 different companies and a couple of crypto, hoping one goes to the moon and I never have to worry about money again. I'm like, that's not the answer. And then the other question is like, how are you tracking any of this? And so a couple people said they'd created a spreadsheet, but most people were just kind of mentally accounting. It's like, I open my 5 accounts on like a weekly basis. I mentally sum how much I have. And then I take it a step further, which is to say, a third of all of these assets assets, these investments are for this goal, half of these investments are for another, and the rest is for, whatever. And interestingly, it's funny how life works in full circle. When I was on the street, my husband came to, well, then boyfriend, came to me and he's like, I have this much money saved for your engagement ring, but the one I want to buy you is more expensive. Are there any stocks I should invest my money in to make up that difference? And so back then, as a 23, 24-year-old like female investment analyst, what better carrot for me to like, pun intended, for me to like give him some ideas. And so back then I sent him what now is the rudimentary prototype for a reason, which was a simple spreadsheet that allowed him to play around with different potential allocations and see, hey, if I were to buy this much of stocks A, B, and C, might get me this close to my goal. But if I were to buy stocks X, Y, and Z instead, it could get me closer to my goal. So over the course of a year, we doubled his ring fund. Well, he doubled his ring fund. I got a beautiful engagement ring out of it.
Wow.
And like a really, I think, empowering story to tell as a woman who, a young woman who previously felt very excluded from the financial world, to have learned how to harness the power of investing to achieve such an important personal and financial milestone was like so transformative. And basically I was like, there has to be a tech solution for this. Why doesn't this exist? Why can't somebody assign specific investments to specific goals and like simulate what might happen? And that's really where the idea for Reason came from. And we've been working on iterating and building the app ever since. And we're getting close to launching the App Store. I guess at this point, we will have launched in the App Store at this point now.
Yes. Wow. That's an incredible story. So coherent. It's like makes so much sense every step of the way why you did what you did, because it made sense for the people around you and for the people that you wanted to help rather than the people everybody else was focusing on. If you're following along at home, I highly recommend you go to www.reason.app, because you can see this amazing visualization of actually like the stocks you're investing in your portfolio being dragged over and applied to specific goals, like that Peloton bike that you're interested in, or that wedding ring, or the trip, or whatever it is you're saving for. You've got this awesome visualization on the website that you can, and anybody at home can see. Can you talk about the user experience you're going for? Do you literally want people to be able to say, like, here's my portfolio, and then I'm going to drag different investments to different goals? Is that the experience you're going for?
100%. So to begin with, we kind of are launching this, what we're calling a goals-focused investing assistant. So basically allowing you to say, hey, these are, the 10 stocks that I have in my Robinhood account, let's say. I want to assign these 2 stocks to this one goal, these other 3 stocks to another, and the other 5, stocks, ETFs, crypto, whatever, to another goal. And actually maybe even say, hey, I have, 10 shares of Apple, and I want to only assign 2 of them to this goal, but the other 8 of those shares I want to assign elsewhere, which you can't do on any other platform yet. No. So Reason is like first of its kind, allowing you to basically do what savings buckets like through YNAB or some of these online savings have allowed you to do with your like savings account. We're allowing you to do with your investments, actually all without moving any of your money. So you just sync your investment accounts to Reason, and then you're able to, like, I would think it's kind of fun. You can just like drag and drop different investments over into your each of these buckets. Tell us how much of each investment you want to assign, and then we actually take it a step further, which is to ask you, hey, at what price would you be willing to sell this asset in the future in order to realize those gains for this particular reason? And that's a kind of hangover from my hedge fund days, where I was forced to create an upside and downside price target to say, okay, if it reaches this number, we feel it's appropriately valued. Therefore, we would sell our position to lock in those gains. And so that's another thing that no other platform asks you to do. So we are very clear that like we want you to invest with intention, with a very organized strategy, and also set a marker or like a finish line for yourself of like, hey, if this reaches this goal, I'm going to sell this investment so that I can fulfill this physical thing or experience that I'm trying to invest for in the first place, rather than feeling that like, emotion of FOMO of like, oh, what if it keeps going up higher or something? We want to redirect that focus from FOMO to fulfillment of your goals.
Yeah, it's the name makes so much sense. What's the reason for this? Yeah, for this investment. And I love that you're bringing in the expertise of a hedge fund, but you're applying it to what you saw the need as being more short-term goals. Can you talk a little bit about the difference between a short-term goal and a long-term goal, and like how you envision your users dividing those two needs? Would they take care of like retirement in a separate account, or is that something you're going to meet and say like, look, you've saved partly here for retirement, here's one allocation, here's your coffee budget. Like, is that a distinction that you're envisioning occurring within Reason or being handled by two different apps?
It's a great question. And the answer is that we want to do it all. So with Reason, you can invest for goals that are anywhere from like 6 months away. Like my husband's investing in crypto to buy a surfboard. Current state of the crypto market, he's not very happy, but that is the case. And all the way to retirement. But what's interesting is that we have, through our beta test, heard from individuals that like, hey, I love this idea of thinking about it this way. And I love the idea of, achieving a short-term goal and then setting another one and then setting another one. But like retirement feels like this amorphous thing that is, 30 years down the line. Is there a way to make that feel more like the shorter or medium term goals so I can actually see, real progress that I'm making toward that? Because when you think about it like a progress bar, right? If you're trying to have $3 million for retirement and you currently only have $30,000 saved, in, a 400 pixel screen, like the $30,000 is just a tiny little blip of green, right? In that, the
Right.
length of that progress bar, thinking about how do we, from a behavioral finance perspective, make this very big, scary kind of goal feel much more achievable in the shorter term. And we, from a business perspective, we think that will also increase like stickiness and, the length of the time that the customers use this app, in that they feel like they're constantly like achieving things, not just short and medium term goals, but long-term goals as well.
Right. So breaking the long-term goal into smaller chunks to make it more relatable to a human being who doesn't think about $3 million over 30, 40 years is almost meaningless to most investors. So you're kind of taking more of a psychology approach, it seems like, and trying to build a tool that fits more with the way normal people think. Is that something that you're really actively trying to do?
Absolutely. I think when you look at the state of the retail market today, you see a lot of apps that are focused on getting individuals to take action. So they're focused on what people are doing, not why people are taking those actions. And that extends anywhere from Robinhood, which makes their money on order flow. So they're, as a company, incentivized to get you to do things. They don't care why you're doing it. They just care that you are doing it or what you're doing. All the way through, some of these new like social investing apps that show you kind of like a Venmo-esque feed of, what your friends have invested in, what percentage return, profit or loss they made on that investment. What to me is missing, and why the retail market has become so volatile, is that there's no context, right? Like there is something underlying motivating each of these individuals to take this particular action, and there isn't another platform that captures that right now, at least for self-directed retail investors, meaning you aren't using a robo-advisor who is picking your investments for you. You want to have more control or say in what you're investing in. So we're really trying, in just this initial version that we're launching, really trying to tap into that why, understand, what is driving you to make these decisions, how you think about what assets you've allocated to certain goals, either from a, time horizon perspective or what we call like a suck score. So like if how much would it suck if you lost this money for this particular reason, right?
Right.
Because that's a good question. And so we're really trying to tap into that. And then I think like as we scale, we're going to be able to do some really fascinating things with like the community value that's going to be driven through people's usage of the app, which is to not just show you, 11% of our users own Apple stock, but actually they've assigned them to these reasons. So like people are investing in Apple because of X, Y, and Z, which you can't see elsewhere. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, you have this CFA background, you're a certified financial planner. I think, would you say that certified financial planners do want to talk to people more about the reasons, like what are your goals, what are you saving for, than a traditional fintech founder does? Like, I don't think a lot of the people that are out there building tools for this big wave of retail investors have that background or think that way. And do you think that's maybe why nobody else is building their apps this way?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things. And the first is that I was very intentional with getting both the CFA and CFP designations because I wanted to, with my hedge fund background, understand how something like active investing, which again has historically been kind of shunned upon by the personal finance community, how that could take a role or play a role in someone's financial planning. So I was like, I need to understand holistically how to think about the things that people are trying to achieve with their money, from short-term goals to long-term goals, with like a layer of like risk management and protection involved, but then also take it that next level. It's like, how do we use my former hedge fund strategies to help them do that? So I think my background is just like super unique in that like I'm able to view things from those both sides. I also think, just being honest, that part of my being female is also an interesting advantage and perspective that makes me realize when I'm looking at the market and speaking to other female investors or want to be investors, or people who just simply want to put their money to work in, a more effective, efficient way, is that they don't see anything that makes sense to them right now. It's like, okay, it just feels like a casino. It feels like a gambling app. Like, why would I buy this stock? Or like, how would I know how much of it to buy? And what we're hearing from beta testers, people that we speak to, especially women, is like, I've never wanted to get involved, or I've never felt the need to, I've never known why I would do it. But now that I see reason and how it works, it makes complete sense. Like this platform makes me want to start investing because I see that, I would buy this for this. It's like a means to the end and starting with the end in mind. I think part of why women are kind of, statistically better investors is that we're less emotional. And so this platform gives you a way to just be very intentional and organized and to see the end that you're trying to achieve, rather than just seas of red and green on a daily basis that fluctuate by the millisecond, that drives you to make really emotional decisions. So I think it's a combination of my background and perspective as a woman in this industry that has led me to create Reason.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that. Do you think that this is a male-dominated industry? So like a lot of investors, a lot of investment firms, a lot of startups are led by men. Do you think that is leaving female investors out?
100%. So when you look at statistics about what percentage of new brokerage accounts are created by women, it's only about 25%. Yet women are set to inherit significant wealth, in part because we have this pay to, there's a lot of reasons why, we live
Yes.
longer and the men in our lives get paid more. So therefore, if we just outlive them, we're going to inherit all this money. I wish that there was a way for more women to make money in real time, hence part of our mission with Reason. But yeah, and it's funny because I think it was early last year, 2021, there was like the Wall Street Journal article or podcast or something about, how all of these platforms, whether it be Fidelity or Webull or Robinhood or what have you, even the robo-advisors, all trying to figure out how to tap into the female market. Like, how do we get more women investing? And it's not access. It's not democratizing more, alternative investments that they can invest in. It's giving them the context and confidence to want to invest in the first place. Like, most of my female girlfriends who are not investing currently are all very smart. They're all very savvy when it comes to their careers and making money and things. But there's this piece of them that feels like, well, I don't see myself as an investor. Therefore, why would I download an investing app? And so we really want to change that. So that's, everything from how we're building the app to how we're, going to be, being very intentional about our marketing messaging will hopefully be, resonate with them in a way that no other investing or fintech apps really have.
Yeah, you touched on all kinds of problems, the gender pay gap, and there's the disparity between men and women in STEM careers. But I think you're on the consequences end of it. So like all these problems in the world that need to be addressed, but the result is that if you've got 20% of the downloads of apps by new investors are women, and that just makes no sense. And then it leads to even further repercussions. So it sounds like there's this term democratizing data, and that everybody's trying to democratize data, but you can't democratize data if 80% of your users are men. Can you talk a little bit about democratizing this investment structure? I know that education is important to you and to your team. Can you talk a little bit about the education piece that goes into that to maybe changing some of those outcomes?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I will preface this with saying that actually the first product I created before we focused on Reason was focused on education. So it's a virtual financial literacy program that we license to colleges across the country. It's basically the, objective, comprehensive personal finance 101 course that we all should have had in college or high school. And it covers investing because of that. I think that's a really important thing to learn very early. When it comes to democratizing access, I spoke to NBC News a few years ago before, the GameStop saga and like all of that happened last year, and likened, giving somebody the keys, like a 12-year-old, the keys to a sports car as what democratization without education is really about. And so it's wonderful that, there are absolutely 100% different investment opportunities that were previously made only available to the very wealthy, whether it be because you had to have a relationship or it was a high cost, front load, or, whatever it might be to get into, or maybe you needed to have somebody hired that understood the risk and, reward aspect of it that an individual wouldn't. But when I look at the rest of fintech, it's like, you're just trying to unlock access to all of these different security types or wannabe security types like NFTs or something, trying to make everything an investable asset. And again, without proper understanding from the consumer side about like why that may or may not be a good investment and how it can serve the things that they're trying to achieve in their financial life, it's not going to work, or at least it's not going to have as large of an impact as it could have otherwise. And so, part of what my mission is really like, okay, or how I look at the market really is like, all right, there's been this access unlocked, right, by the likes of Robinhood, which, I harp on them for a lot of things, but they obviously did a lot of great things for the market and compressing fees and whatnot. Then there's interest, which happened in 2020. Now, all of a sudden, people are like, oh, this access is available, and I'm really interested in figuring out how to use it for myself. But my question is always, okay, what's next? Because we're seeing all of this access happen. It's becoming commoditized. It's like, all right, then how do we actually get people to buy into this and make it, something that has a positive impact on their financial life? And so to me, the companies that figure out how to lean into that why and the meaning and the importance of this access are going to be the ones that win in the long run. And obviously I'm biased, but I think Reason's going to be one of them.
Yes, I agree. I think you're onto something that no one else is, and so that just gives you a huge first mover advantage. Will you talk a little bit about your roadmap and your vision? I know that as this show goes live, you'll be in the App Store, and folks will be able to download Reason and see some of that functionality that you can't get anywhere else. I have it in my bank account, but I don't have it for investments, and so that's super new and unique. Can you talk a little bit? You touched on a piece of what like social aspect of the app. You can see what other people are buying Apple for, what the reason is behind it. Where in a year, 2 years, what kind of ecosystem is Reason going to be? Like when I come there to invest and to manage my portfolio, what types of features are you planning to build?
Yeah, so for regulatory reasons and resource reasons, just to be clear, we're not starting out as an investing app. We're not trying to compete with Robinhood. We're just trying to help you figure out how to use tools like Robinhood more effectively. So you'll be able to connect all of your investment accounts to Reason. You'll also be able to connect things like crypto wallets or manually enter assets that you own of value that you can't somehow connect like via Plaid, for example. So you'll be able to see all of that there. And then you'll be able to create your own reasons, so things that you're investing toward. One of the things we're really excited about is you'll actually be able to contribute assets to shared reasons. So this is something I think is also missing in the market, is like getting, whether it's the, one partner in the relationship does kind of manage the money and investing and whatnot. The other person's kind of left out in the dark, like left out of that conversation, even though technically my husband and I are investing for retirement and a home down payment together. We currently have no way to actually say, well, these assets in my Roth IRA and his Roth IRA are for retirement, but these other assets in our Roth IRAs respectively are for a home down payment. With Reason, we'll be able to actually share reasons, contribute our individual assets to those respective goals, and be able to have more of kind of a community, like, real-time touch base about where we're at with those particular goals. So we're going to be launching sharing ideally by the end of, well, we just got into Techstars, so hopefully by the end of Techstars, which is in October. And then some other things that we want to do in addition to like this context, like why people are investing, what reasons they've assigned it to, is provide different like discounts or exclusive perks to encourage you to keep going, to like lower the bar that you actually have to achieve to hit those reasons. And so once we know kind of what the most popular reasons on our platform are, or maybe the most unique ones, we can reach out to specific corporate partners like, hey, 50% of our users are investing for a home down payment, Rocket Mortgage, Better, Wayfair, whatever, offer our users some kind of like interesting perk or discount to enable them to achieve this goal more quickly or easier, but also to incentivize them to do what we think is right, which is put your money to work to achieve goals rather than taking on debt through like a buy now, pay later system to do that. And so that's kind of what's coming up in the pipeline. We have lots of other bigger things that we're kind of keeping under wraps at the moment, and that will lean on our community to tell us if they, like those ideas and what else we can do. But imagine, Reason right now being the place where you can be intentional with your investments. You can see why other people are investing in certain things and receive exclusive perks and discounts later this year for the things that you're investing for. And then, if you have a creative mind, you may be able to think about, oh, how might that actually, when I achieve a reason, what could I do then? How would I actually pay for those things? How might I actually fulfill that? And so we have some ideas down the pipeline of how we might do that.
It sounds like I'm going to have you back.
I know. Yeah. We're going to have to check in like every 6 months or something to see where we're at.
Yeah. You'd hit on problems I have, like with my partner, I don't have the ability to share a reason, to share a goal. We have to do that in a spreadsheet somewhere. And that's stressful, and it leads to lack of clarity. And same thing. I have buckets in my savings account, but I have investments for reasons that I don't have any way to track. So it's a wonderfully intuitive and psychologically well-aligned strategy. It makes sense to me. I need it. If you need it too, you can go to www.reason.app and check it out. And you can get it in the App Store. So thank you so much for being here, Tara. I loved hearing about what you're working on.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to share it with your audience, especially as we partner with Intrinio for our securities data. So that's always great. And I love to hear that you yourself have these pain problems, and that Reason may solve some of those issues for you. Sounds like you're the kind of person that we're building this for, and that could be a strong advocate for Reason. So thank you so much.